Well, hello and happy Friday Eve. That's one of my favorite things to say on a Thursday. And welcome to the Wright-Patt Credit Union Finances in Focus Thursdays. My name is Ivy, and I'm excited to join you today to actually talk about something that we started talking about at the beginning of this year, as we said Happy New Year, and talked about goal setting and resolutions. I'll wait just a few minutes to come on, but just wanted to come spend a few minutes with you all today just to hopefully give you a little boost for those of you that are working on setting some goals, and for those of you who have not set goals yet, to give you a little boost to get going on them for this year and this season in your life. So like I said, just going to give you all a few minutes to jump on. If you have jumped on already, thank you. If you could take a moment, I'm going to actually do it as well, to share this message. Uh-oh, a little out there. Going to share this message. Like I said, today we're talking about a follow-up to our January 2nd live stream, which was setting goals and doing it stress-free, where today we're going to actually just give a boost to goal setting, give you 5 tips on how to set some goals and work toward them in a way that's feasible and actual sustainable. And really, I just want to give you a few tips of the things that I'm learning to implement and some things that I've done along the way. Can't say that I'm perfect at it, but I'm working on it. So as you jump on, just curious, I see a few people on. If you wouldn't mind sharing, have you set some goals or resolutions for this year? And what are they? How are you doing? What are you doing to kind of get started on them? If you wouldn't mind sharing in the chat box, even if you're viewing this as a replay, I would love for you all to share and to let us know what you're working on as your goals. So I'm actually just hopping on here real quick, give you all a few moments to join us. Did you know that statistics show that many people will actually drop their resolutions by today? Meaning 3 weeks after the new year, just 3 weeks in, that many will not sustain their resolutions or the goals or the focus points that they've set for themselves. And in fact, over 80% won't attain them at all as the year rolls on. And that's really why we're here today. I just wanted to come back on to spend a few minutes to check in with you all, to remind you that if you didn't check out our live stream on January 2nd, to do that. It talked about setting goals and actually goal setting that in a stress-free way and stress management. And we had a great guest with Angela on then. And then I just wanted to provide a few tips on encouraging and helping you stay on track toward your goals, both financial as well as goal tips that you can apply to other goals. I know I'm personally finishing out working on my vision board. I actually have it on my to-do list this week. And I also have been working on performance goals for work, goals at home. And so just really in that mindset of closing out last year and old tasks and starting new tasks for this season. So I want to go through these 5 tips, and I encourage you again to share this message with your friends, family members, and coworkers. If you're joining us during lunch, continue to eat and enjoy. I'll be doing that right after this, and go ahead and get started. So my 5 tips. The first tip I wanted to share with you today is that it's really important that we action step into our goals. One takeaway that was really valuable for me when we spent some time on January 2nd in our live stream was to surround, and it was for both my personal and professional goals, was to really get clear on what steps actually have to be taken to attain your goal. One thing our guest talked about was how a lot of times people will set a goal but not truly understand what it takes to reach that goal. And then when they do start to take a look at every step involved, they may become overwhelmed, right? Because it can be a lot. So I think that it's really important to get a clear picture of what the steps are needed, not only to attain the goal, but also to maybe attain short-term goals along the way. And it's really important once you've set that goal to create action steps. And one thing I try to do sometimes is to actually back into those steps. So not from the start line to the finish line, but actually to the finish line to the starting line. Recently, my mentor asked me to think about what I want my life to look like in the next 2 to 3 years, and then to work backwards from there on the steps that I need to be taking today to get there. And so I think that that applies to a lot of goals, and especially in the financial world. One example of this I can use is individuals often come to us wanting to buy a home. And, before buying a home, there are several steps that have to be in place. You want to make sure that your credit is financially on point and in a good place to where you can get approved for a loan, but not only approved, but the best rates possible. You want to make sure that you have a down payment. You go through a pre-qualification process. You want to make sure that you've not only thought about your current budget needs, but what your budget needs are going to be once you've bought the home that you have. Will they increase or decrease? What changes are needed? And so those are steps along the way to actually buying a home. But even within those steps, say you do need to work on your credit, there are steps to doing that. There's actually pulling your credit and understanding what your debt picture looks like. There is contacting creditors and lenders. There is creating a payment plan. So even within the larger picture goals, there's all these miniature goals and steps that have to take place. And so that's why I think action stepping your financial goals is really, really valuable. And it's something that I am working on even in my both personal and professional and financial goals that I'm setting this year. So my second tip is to understand your starting line. You know, just as important as it is to understand all the steps that you're going to have along the way, especially if you're running hurdles, right? You need to know when they're coming. You also need to know what your starting point is. This is really important with the financial world. And I do recommend that every year, whether you are, trying to get in a better financial position because things aren't going great, or you're in a great position and you just want to continue to maintain, every year it's good to do what I say, take financial inventory to get clear on your assets, your liabilities, your debts, what your bills look like. Are there any subscriptions that don't provide value to you, anymore that you can cancel? What opportunities are out there? Have you checked your insurance rates lately to see if you're getting the best deal? It's always a good time once a year to take inventory and to organize your finances, to know your net worth, which is what you own minus what you owe, what you own in assets, and then what you're paying back in debts and liabilities, your net worth, which is kind of your a financial score that helps to get clear on where you are. And so understanding your starting line is really important. I always tell people a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? We've all heard that quote. But I also like to look at it this way. When you're going somewhere, you have to have a GPS starting address to help give you the best route. And so having that financial inventory or your goal inventory also provides that good starting point to help determine the best route in your next steps. The third tip that I can offer to you all is to determine what is most important and focus on that. Now, I'll be very honest, this is one of my hardest because I would like to pride myself in being a multitasker, but I probably do it to a fault most times. I can get very busy in doing a lot of different things. I'm a creative thinker, I'm an innovator, I like ideas, but sometimes that can lead me to not finishing. And in fact, my word for this year is finish. I have a lot of things started that aren't necessarily finished, and I really want to tune in to getting those things done. And so one step to doing that is to determine what is most important, what is most essential, and focus on that first. Maybe 1 to 2 things that you have to do first before you can get to the next step. It is important to be flexible, right? We have to be flexible in that process, but we do have to understand what's most important in moving us through the process. And so especially in the financial world, you can get your best momentum when you focus on 1, maybe 2 things at a time, right? And so there's financial experts that recommend what those things should be. Each of us has to do what works well for our lifestyle, but I can give you a few tips on where you could be focusing your financial priorities. So one thing that is really critical is to get your spending in order in a place that helps you to have a starter, what I call life happens fund. Not an emergency fund, although it is for that. It's for life's unexpected moments because life will happen, and it will probably happen right after you thought it wouldn't. And so you want to have a starter life happens fund, which is at least $1,000 stashed away that says that when life happens, I can grab that little bit of money, bit of money, and take care of the need without totally throwing my budget off and without totally throwing my other goals off. Now, if you make less than $26,000, that would drop down to $500. And the other good thing is, even if you don't have that and you're not close to it, at least having a healthy savings habit will get you there. So even if it's $10 a week that you're putting away in a life happens pot would help. Maintaining and paying down debt should also be a priority. Should actually be a second priority. If you have debt, focusing on knocking it down, getting it into a manageable space, getting the best rates that you can get on the debt that you are carrying. That would be a second priority from a financial standpoint. Having a fully funded emergency fund would be number 3. So once you've paid off that debt, going back and making sure you have 3 to 6 months of necessary expenses, figuring out what that 3 to 6 months looks like for you and your household. And then again, not saying you're going to hit the lottery and pour into it at one time, but having a habit that's funding those future expenses and future emergencies that could come up. You also want to make sure at that point that you're focusing on your goals and opportunities for the future, right? And not that you're not doing that all the time, but again, we have 2 eyes for a reason. We can only be focusing on a couple of things at a time to really get momentum and to get the best results. Just want to pop over here. Hi, Lindsay. Glad to see you. Thanks for joining. Just wanted to say hello. I saw a few people saying hello to me there. The next step that I can give you, which this is number 4, if anybody's writing it down, is to start small. Again, this is one I'm working on, so I'm not here to tell you that, here's how I attained every goal in my life. This is something that I'm sharing that I'm also working through myself. Again, I'm a creative thinker, big thinker. I often think up ideas and don't necessarily go back to that first step, and this goes back to that first step. So starting small. One of the reasons, I was reading an article that says one of the reasons people seem to have so much difficulty adhering to their resolutions is they set the bar too high, right? I'm going to go conquer the world in 30 days. No, you're not going to conquer the world. Let's start with conquering the next hour. And then each hour turns into a day, and then the day turns into the month, and the month turns into forever. But let's start small. Specifically within the financial world, starting small can really add up over time, right? So let me give you just a few tips on how you could start small financially. Make a 90-day milestone goal. Instead of what you're going to achieve for the year, not in addition to what you will achieve for the year, back that up to what you're going to achieve in the next 90 days. And then going back to that action step list, look at each step that's needed to attain that. So when you have that action step list from finish to start, you can now say what of that list is going to be completed in the next 90 days and create a 90-day milestone for yourself. Then pick 1 to 2 small tasks that you can challenge yourself to do each week. At the end of this, I'm actually going to issue a challenge that you'll have access to on our website. Pick 1 to 2 small tasks that you can have and challenge yourself to each week, and really work on achieving those tasks for the week. So for example, within that whole building your credit area, maybe one task for the week is I am going to make a list of all the creditors that I have any debts with, and what my amount is that I owe to them, and their contact information and the interest rate. That step in itself is plenty. That's 1 week's worth of work. Instead of overloading something every day, just focus on, for that week, making sure you have that, what I call debt inventory, solid. We actually have a debt inventory on our website that you can access if you go to wpcu.coop and go to our financial worksheet section. But that's just an example of one thing. Or maybe it's something like I did last week. I'm going to pack my lunch every single day and write down how much I didn't spend and how much I did spend, based on what my intent was, and calculate it at the end and see what those savings are. That's one step. That's one thing you can do. Maybe it is, doing a 1 week challenge, which again, I actually have one for you at the end of this. Maybe it's this week you're going to save 1% of your monthly salary, and you're going to commit to making a transfer of 1% of your monthly salary. So if you make $4,000, you're going to transfer an extra $40 this week. So there's these small steps that each week you can set at the beginning of the week and commit to, that over time will make a big difference. Maybe a small step is making a phone call or an email to cancel a costly subscription. That one step could make a huge difference in the long run. I know I found that I think $10.66 in my budget last week. Well, over the course of a year, that $10 really adds up, right? If I'm looking at that from a weekly cost on lunch, $10 over the course of a year, a week, is $520. Well, there's your starter Life Happens fund right there. So it's just those small steps that you can take each week. My 5th step is to see your goals and see your progress. meaning visualize it, write it down, keep track. I am a list maker. I am very visual. One thing I wanted to share with you all today, this is actually a sample of what I have on my board upstairs at my desk. It is what I do each week at work. It is my to-do, doing, and done list. I like to see progress. So not only do I like to see the tasks I have in front of me, I also like to see them moving. And so each week, I start my week off with reviewing my task list and determining what's going to be most essential, what I'm going to work on for the week. And I try, my board upstairs is a little bit bigger, but I try not to let my tasks exceed what would fit on the board, because at that point I'm trying to get too much done in a week. And that's something I'm working on, but that is the goal I have this year, to keep it to to what can fit in the week. And then I put in this category what I'm actually working for the day. And you can either just write it down. I like to use Post-it notes because if there's something that needs to move, it's just easier to move it around that way. And then when it's done, I put it in the done category. And at the end of the week, I empty off my done category and I start fresh. But for me, this progress and visually seeing my tasks is helpful. It also is good for goal setting. So maybe you have your goals here and you have, goals in progress and goals completed. But it's nice to see it and visualize it. Some people like vision boards. And like I said, I'm actually working on my personal vision board over the next week. Vision boards are a nice way to bigger picture, see over the next year, over the next few years, what you want to have manifest in your life and really have it in front of you as a motivator. Those are something that you can use to create concepts. There's a lot of templates out there to help in putting those together. I actually attended a training or a dinner a few weeks ago, and we talked about even if you don't do a vision board, actually having a vision statement and letting that statement lead what you do. I have a word of focus this year, which I think I mentioned in the beginning, is finish. And then from the day-to-day, again, I use this for my work tasks, but journaling is valuable. Finding checklists online is valuable. I actually went online right before I came in here, and everybody does a lot of times like savings challenges. You can go Google savings challenge, and there's a lot of different options. This is a 52-week one to save $5,000. Maybe you want to save $1,000. You can find a challenge out there for it. So these challenges are out there. Budgets, visualizing your budget numbers, that's out there. And so those tools are out there. And as a matter of fact, many of these type of tools, financial tools, are available on our website, free tools, members and non-members, at wpcu.coop. You just click on the financial worksheets and education buttons, and you'll see all kind of resources out there. But I just encourage you, write it down, see it, visualize your progress. Create a cup that you're filling every time you save so that you can see it. Show your kids the progress if you have children. Tangibly, visibly seeing things in front of us helps us to stay accountable to the goals and motivated to moving toward them. So at this time, those were my 5 tips. I'm just going to recap what they were briefly. Action step into your goals, right? From finish to start as much as start to finish. 2, understand your starting line. Where are you today, especially financially? What does your financial picture look like? 3, determine what's most important and most essential first and focus on that. Don't focus on too many things at once. 4, start small. What are those small challenges, those small things you can do each week that over time will help you meet that 90-day milestone, that 180-day milestone, and ultimately goal achieved. And then visualize and see your goals is number 5, and your progress. Not just your goals, but actually visualize and track your progress along the way. Again, we have financial worksheets, tracking tools online for those of you that want to do that specific to finances. But the great thing about goal setting is it's really about habits that can apply to every area of life. And like I said, for me, that's what I'm trying to figure out, is how to be more consistent in every area of my life. How can I simplify this process and just apply it to every category? And again, if you apply these tasks to the financial category, you will see some results, just as you would in weight loss, just as you would in business goals. It applies in each area, as long as we're consistent and stick to them. So good luck to you. I'm excited to see you all along the way. I'm always encouraged when I'm out in public and someone shares with me a financial goal they've met, through paying attention to their finances and just working toward a goal. So please, if you see me share, if you're on the video, share some goals you're working toward. We love to cheer you along the way, and hopefully you're cheering me along the way. And then finally, I want to issue a financial 1-week challenge to you all. This is going to be on our website. It actually should be there now. If you go to wpcu.coop into the financial worksheets category, you can see this 1-week money challenge will be one of the items on there. And on this challenge, it just gives you a quick task that you can complete in 10 minutes or less a day. And it helps you to improve your finances just by doing these small tips. And again, it may just be tips that will help you to take a pause and take a look at your money, or maybe you're not sure where to get started and this is just a starting line for you. So it has tips as simple as giving up one extra expense for the week, checking your account history, see if you have any recurring charges that you didn't know existed, and then actually at the end of the week, when you determine what you're going to give up, grab your money that you saved and decide what you're going to do with it. So it's just a little challenge. We actually did this with a lot of our partner employees here at the credit union in December, and one individual shared with us that she found $200 in cell phone savings just by taking the pause, sometimes just by taking the pause. And so just wanted to share that with you. This is going to be available to you on our website. It's a free, just a downloadable PDF that anyone can go out and grab. And when you complete your task list for the week, we want to hear from you. So at the bottom, there is a website where you can submit your checklist, and it just helps us to, reach out to you and engage with you a little bit further. So I encourage you all, if it's not this 1-week challenge, to create your own and get started toward meeting those goals. I want to thank you all for joining me today on this Finances in Focus. My name is Ivy. We will be back in February, and we're talking about college planning. We're actually talking about some second semester comeback. Usually in January, we're talking about goals and we're excited about attaining them. Somewhere in February, we get a little bit of a winter crash. And that can apply to our students and college bound and life after college efforts as well. So we'll be joined by our colleague and partner, Dr. Pamela Ellis, the college doctor, and she's going to share with us some tips for our students for the college second semester comeback on things to help them in staying motivated as they finish out this year, some test prep tips. She's also going to be joining us in some of our member centers. So check out our website, the education section. We've got a lot of great events coming up, and we will be live at that time to share with you all information about the second semester comeback. Have a great day and rest of the week, and we will see you again.